pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We did it in reverse today. Because this is technically up to the reorg meeting for the Board of Health, so I ask that we have a motion to go into Township Committee to go in recess so we can start the Board of Health meeting, which is only going to take a few minutes, and then we'll come back to the Township Committee. So I have a motion to move.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we're gone to.
All right.
To read this?
I will call to order the Long Hill Township Board of Health 2022 reorganization meeting at 7:44 p.m. This year, we will be reappointing Committeeman Ray and Deputy Mayor Pasurcia to the Long Hill Township Board of Health. So I will pose the oath of office in the form of a question, if you could just answer it at the end. Do you, Brendan Ray and Guy Pasurcia, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of New Jersey, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that you will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office of Long Hill Township Board of Health according to the best of your abilities, and that you will not use your office to grant preferential treatment nor to seek personal gain, favor, or advantage not available to the general public, so help you God?
Could you repeat that?
Without my mask.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So now I'll call the roll. Assessor Sherman? Assessor Sherman, if you could unmute yourself.
Present.
Dr. Redling? Committeeman Lavender?
Present.
Committeeman Ray?
Present.
Committeeman Verleza?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia?
Present.
And Mayor Dorsey?
Here.
Okay, so now we'll do the nominations for President of the Long Hill Township Board of Health. Can I have a motion?
Motion to nominate Mayor Matt Dorsey.
Second.
Assessor Sherman?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia?
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Second.
Assessor Sherman?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia?
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to elect Mayor Dorsey as the President of the Township Long Hill Board of Health?
Even though that title's scary, so moved.
Second.
Assessor Sherman?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia?
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey?
Yes.
Okay. President Dorsey,
Yes.
I'm going to pose the oath of office in the form of a question. Do you, Matt Dorsey, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of New Jersey, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that you will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office of Long Hill Township President, Board of Health, according to the best of your abilities, and that you will not use your office to grant preferential treatment nor seek personal gain, favor, or advantage not available to the general public, so help you God?
Yes.
Congratulations.
So now the first order of business is to appoint the Board of Health Attorney for 2022. I move that we appoint Mr. Pigeon as the Board of Health Attorney. I need a second.
Second.
Assessor Sherman?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia?
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey?
Yes. First order of business is ordinance 22-01, first reading and introduction. Jack, you need to explain this? Or?
Yeah, those are just fees that we do not have, and they're being added at the request of the Burnings Health Department.
Okay, and these are fees they charge in Burnings Township, I believe?
Correct.
Okay. So now let's see. Motion to approve ordinance 22-01 and be passed on the first reading.
So moved. Second.
Assessor Sherman?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Veleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia? Mayor Dorsey?
Yes.
And this will be up for second reading and adoption on February 23rd. So we will have another,
I think we did on the first reading, correct?
yeah, but it's an ordinance, so you have to have two meetings. So we'll have another Board of Health meeting on February 23rd.
Okay, so, next we have to approve the minutes for the January 20th, 2021 meeting. I'd like somebody to move that, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
You could do a voice vote.
Oh, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Then we have
Aye.
Resolution 22-01, authorizing entering into a professional service agreement with the Visiting Nurse Association of Somerset Hills. I believe we're already in that program anyway, correct, Nancy?
Yeah, this is just a renewal.
Okay, and just briefly, what is the visiting nurse they provide our citizens?
Well, we are required by law to have visiting nurses. They do the clinics, they go to the schools, they do one-on-one visits to people's houses.
Thank you. All right, so motion to approve Resolution 22-001.
So moved.
Second.
We do a roll, I said the roll call.
Roll call, yes, please.
Assessor Sherman?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Veleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pasurcia? Mayor Dorsey?
Yes. All right, any items for discussion? Anybody have item discussion topics? Seeing none. Anybody in the public have any business to address with the Board of Health?
If anyone from Zoom would like to raise their hand, please do so now to make a public comment for the Board of Health meeting. I'm not seeing anyone.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I'd like a motion to adjourn the Board of Health meeting.
So moved. Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, before we get into the meeting, we got very sad news this week. Friend, colleague, and lifelong Long Hill resident, Fred Rossi, passed away this week. Originally, I was going to say something, so I spoke to Brendan, who asked Carol to write something up, but then Carol said, let me do it myself. And Carol's been friends with Fred for a lifetime. I'll say that, so I don't date either one of them. So, Carol, on behalf of the Township Committee, thank you for doing this, and I don't think anybody can do it any better than you when it comes to Fred, so the floor is yours.
We are all at a great loss. We lost a great friend yesterday with the passing of Fred Rossi, and it's an honor to share a few thoughts about Fred with you this evening. Fred was born and grew up in Long Hill, then Passaic Township, in a large and loving family. He was an exceptional athlete, leader, and kind and generous friend. Fred entered Watchung Hills Regional High School as a sophomore. The first year, Watchung opened its doors and left his mark on the school, community, and those around him. As an athlete at Watchung Hills, Fred earned varsity letters in football, basketball, and baseball each of his 3 years. He also set and maintained school records in both basketball and baseball. In basketball, he held the points scored record for 15 years. In baseball, he held the single-season home run record for over 20 years. Fred was inducted into the Hall of Fame at Watchung Hills in 2008. Fred continued to play baseball during his 4 years at Delta State University. Named MVP in 1964, he was selected to Who's Who in American colleges and universities that same year. His professional life was focused on community service as chief administrator of Long Hill Township, Morris County, and Morris Township. Throughout his life, he served in organizations such as the Rotary, as a Pop Warner football coach, and most recently as chairman of Long Hill's Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. He was a tireless volunteer and proud patriot. And there was the Watchung Hills Class of 1960 Reunion Committee, which continues to meet 61 years after graduating, often talking about the magic time of growing up in the late 1940s and 1950s at a time when the world felt young and full of hope. Fred's memories of his youth will surely live on in all of his classmates' hearts. Attending a social event with Fred was always an adventure, as it seemed that Fred knew and liked everyone in the room, no matter where you were, no matter who you were with, and needless to say, everyone knew and liked him. To Fred, strangers were friends that he just hadn't yet met.
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
Please remember Fred, his high school sweetheart and love of his life, Joy, their children, Michelle, Catherine, and Fred, and grandchildren in your prayers. To honor his memory, we should all keep his genuine kindness and spirit in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. I'd just like to ask for a moment of silence now in honor of our friend and mentor, Fred Rossi. Thank you. Thank you again, Carol. It meant a lot that you come up and do that tonight. Unfortunately, now we got to deal with our regular business. Where are we? Let me see. Jack, resolutions?
Ordinances.
Oh, ordinances, sorry. Okay, so we have ordinance first reading, which is 485-22, salaries and wages. Jack, you should explain what the purpose of this was.
Yeah, Nancy prepared this ordinance. The purpose is to reflect the salaries that are being paid to employees this year. It sets forth a range for every employee, which is legal, and prevents our having to amend the ordinance every time somebody gets a raise or something. So there are reasonable ranges set forth, and then the actual salaries are set by resolution.
And just so the public knows, the ranges are in there. It doesn't mean somebody's making that much money, or they are gonna make that much money tomorrow. We just set it in there so we don't have to keep changing it constantly. So anywhere in that range, could be on the low end, could be a high end, could be in the middle. So
That's right.
it was just set there so we don't have to keep changing it constantly. So what do you, so I'd like to move ordinance 485-22.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Ray,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia,
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey.
Yes.
And second reading and adoption for this ordinance will be on Wednesday, February 9th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the next ordinance is 486-22. It's authorizing the township to purchase a property known as Block 10801, Lot 6.01, on the township tax map using Open Space Trust Fund and Capital Improvement Fund money. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything to anybody if they don't work in the tax office. So basically, it's the Eberly property for the people watching and know in town. If you drive down Valley Road towards Berkeley Heights, it is almost at the end before you get the chimney rock on the right. It's got the beautiful red shingles on the outside for siding. So that's the property we're talking about. It's obviously much larger than that. So I'd like to have a motion to approve ordinance 486-22.
Second.
On first reading.
On first reading, sorry. So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Ray,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia,
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey.
Yes.
And the second reading and adoption for this will be on Wednesday, February 9th as well.
All right, so now we're up to the consent agenda resolutions, 22-037 to 22-042.
And 22-044.
And 044, 22043, I will leave the room, we discussed that, that's involved in the car wash property. So for the ones that I can be here for, does anybody have any questions, comments, issues that we want to discuss?
Mr. Mayor, can somebody explain 22-004 Lounsbury Meadow Resolution of Need?
Thank you. Jack, this is a legal issue, so you can explain that.
Yes, Lounsbury's going to, their tax credits are running out, and so they're going to borrow money, basically, through the New Jersey Mortgage Finance Agency. So they need a resolution of consent by the governing body of the municipality. It doesn't oblige the township or make us liable in any way. It just authorizes them to apply for these loans through the New Jersey State Agency.
Now, several years ago, I thought the relationship between the township and Lounsbury was, for lack of a better word, I suppose, severed.
That's correct.
So why do we need to approve this?
Because the state requires it in order for them to apply for the loans. As I
Regardless-
say, it doesn't make us liable in any way for repayment. We're not guarantors or anything. It's just consenting to their applying for the
Thank you,
loan.
Jack. That's my only question.
Anything else aside from explaining that? Seeing none, motion to move all the resolutions outside of 22-044.
So moved.
Second.
No, including 044.
Well, no, oh, yeah, 044 excluding 043, sorry.
Correct.
Got it.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia?
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey?
Yes, I will have to turn the meeting over to Deputy Mayor, at least for the next one, just so the public knows. The property we're talking about is the car wash property on Valley Road, and I am related to the owners, therefore I cannot participate in the conversation. So, Guy, it's all yours, but I don't expect to be out there for 2 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Jack, does Matt have to leave the room?
He should, yes.
Yeah.
He should leave the room,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
All right. Motion for code? All right, so 22-043, I'll read the resolution. Resolution designating 1106 to 1122 Valley Road, Block 11401, Lot 7, the former car wash site, as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the New Jersey Local Redevelopment and Housing Law. Maybe, Jack, you can give a brief explanation for what that is.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The township's been approached by developers, proposed developers of that property who intend to construct an assisted living facility on the site. They initially came to the town. The Township Committee adopted a resolution several meetings ago asking the planning board to determine whether it qualifies as an area in need of redevelopment under the redevelopment law. The planning board held a public hearing as required by the statute, and they determined that it does in fact qualify as an area in need of redevelopment, and they sent it back to the Township Committee. What this does is it actually designates it as an area in need of redevelopment. The next step would be that the town then comes up with a redevelopment plan, which will go into great detail on how that property can be developed. It goes beyond a zoning ordinance in as much as you can actually set aesthetic standards and, materials used in construction and things like that. So the next step, as I say, will be coming up with a redevelopment plan, which will be prepared by the planner, and after that, we will negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer to develop the property. So this is just the second or third step of many.
Thank you, Jack. Questions for Jack regarding this? So I look for a motion to approve 22-043.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia?
Yes.
And Mayor Dorsey's abstaining.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you. All right, moving along, we are now up to the liaison report. So, I want to start down by Scott.
Yep.
Let it ride, let it fly.
Okay, so I received some information from Shane Daly, our Community Services Manager. And this information you can get on our website under the Social Services tab. But if you're not familiar, there is a food bank in town, 12 Baskets Food Pantry. It serves the Long Hill area, and it's sponsored by All Saints Episcopal Church, as well as the First Presbyterian Church of Sterling and the Myersville Presbyterian Church. Well, there's going to be an opening this Saturday, January 22nd, of the food bank, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can come in. You don't need an appointment, but you must wear a mask. The food pantry is free and confidential. It provides supplemental foods for families in need. non-perishable foods, things like toilet paper, paper towels, etc. It's going to be open the first and third Saturdays of the month from 10 a.m. to noon. And if you're interested in donating to the pantry, the kind of things that it's looking for are, like I said, non-perishable foods, dry goods, snacks, drinks, basically anything that can't spoil and is within its expiration date. And for folks who would rather just donate, for instance, ShopRite food cards, those are appreciated as well. They're recommended in $25 increments. So help our families create healthy meals and help some folks in need. Moving on, recreation. We had some really fun December holiday programs, very successful. So over 100 letters to Santa were processed and sent to the North Pole. We had our holiday house decorating contest. 6 homes won. Some prizes went out. Thank you to Gary Giannakis and the Long Hill Chamber of Commerce for packing some special recreation bags filled with lots of different goodies from local businesses for the winners. And thanks especially to all the residents who participated. There was some really, really outstanding displays this year. Second, we had the holiday cookie decorating contest. 6 bakers were awarded customized cutting boards for the winning entries. That was awesome. And, that was it. It was a good time had by all in several places. So what's going on now? We've got 3 programs coming up. First, there is a photography contest. And so this is a winter landscapes photography contest. Get out there, take pictures. Entry deadline is March 15th. See our website for the full set of rules. If you like to take pictures, it's a lot of fun. Next, this contest started on January 7th. It's going to go to March 6th, the Snowman competition, or your choice of snow sculptures. So the entry form and instructions are on the website. This is another fun annual thing sponsored by our rec department. And then lastly, a creative drawing program for kids, Drawsters. And so there'll be some creative fun and imaginative drawing classes starting in February, the 2nd of February, going all the way out until March 23rd, 4 to 5 p.m. This is going to be on Wednesdays. Open for children ages 7 to 12 and located at the Old Millington Schoolhouse. There is a cost, $164 per student, but there's a lot of value in this. So if you're interested, find that on the website as well. And then lastly, the lighting project for the tennis courts and the basketball courts is still pending. It should start soon. I think, Nancy, you're going to have some more information on that when you give your report.
I actually don't.
You don't? Okay. All right, well, keep an eye on the website. There'll be notices out there, but if you go to the park and you see work, that's what's going on. And that's what I got.
That's it?
That's it.
Excellent. Oh, I can, actually, before I get, I did speak to Lisa the other day, and coincidentally, she did mention the lighting issue. They were having a manpower issue due to obvious reasons with the company that was gonna do the installation. So basically, as soon as they have enough employees, they're gonna come get that thing up and running. So this is something that, hopefully, they wanna get this done as soon as possible, so I would imagine it's gonna be up soon, just a matter of getting enough people at the job site.
Yep.
So that's the update. Vic?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Police Liaison Report, January 19th, 2022, and year-end totals for 2021 are as follows. Self-initiated activity and calls for service year-to-date, 20,612. School activity year-to-date, 1,985. Motor vehicle stops year-to-date, 1,908. Community policing and proactive residential radar posts, 1,700. Arrest incidents year-to-date, 36. And actual subjects, both adult and juvenile that were arrested, 41. Major incidents. We have one to report. A Sterling woman was taken to Morristown Medical Center for treatment for injuries after being struck by a motor vehicle while crossing Valerie Road Valley Road on foot, near the Speedy Mart. We wish the patient a successful recovery and support the family during these times. Special requests, we have 3. The first, please be advised that tomorrow, Thursday, January 20th, Nuverna Road will be closed just past the Great Swamp Greenhouse Nursery through Harding Township. The nursery will be open and accessible. Impacted hours will be from about 7 o'clock. Will be from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Please plan accordingly and avoid New Vernon Road for your commuting needs tomorrow. We apologize for any inconvenience and appreciate your patience. The police department is still under construction and plan on tentatively completing the project no later than March 1st, 2022. Please avoid attempts to make entry into the construction zone at this time, and contact dispatch through the exterior call box if you need police assistance. We will be glad to hold our office open, our official open house in the near future with COVID restrictions permitting. We're excited to get back into the building and to servicing our residents in a fitting facility with professional appearance and experience owed to our residents. And finally, in an effort to minimize the risk of pedestrian injury, please make sure that reflective clothing is worn and designated crosswalks are utilized. A flashing personal light or handheld flashlight would assist tremendously. And community policing, there's nothing to report. And that concludes the Police Liaison Report for January 19th, 2022, and the year-end totals for 2021.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vic. Guy?
So, Mr. Mayor, I apologize, I left my phone in the car, but I can speak to the first aid squad. Again, they were over 700 calls in 2021, so they average roughly 2 calls per day. That's an amazing statistic, especially when you consider surrounding towns and towns throughout the state do not have a full-service volunteer first aid squad. So a shout out to them. Congratulations to Scott Orshan, who was elected president for 2022. Special thank you to Robert Lavanik, who graced us with his presence earlier today. And congratulations to Carly Snyder for once again being voted in as captain. And that is my report.
Thank you. Brendan, what do you got?
Nothing from me.
Even better. Today, 2 quick things. Today I was at the senior center. They installed their new officers. So Bob McLaughlin is still the treasurer. Carol Helenchowicz is the secretary. Maria Gublish is the vice president. And Sandra Swift is the new president. So congratulations, everybody. And I believe they want to get the center open again in the next few weeks, have meetings again. So it should be great for everybody to get everybody together. I got a very impressive report today from Al Gallo from the recycle numbers down at DPW. So I think this is a great partnership. Luckily, Al and most of the people work down, I think all of them are all outdoorsmen, so they really care about the environment. So they're always looking for new programs. And more importantly, the community, when we come up with ideas, they really embrace them and promote them. So just styrofoam alone, this is last year, 17.5 tons of styrofoam were recycled. The program took off more than we ever thought it would. 5,000 cubic yards of brush and trees, which will probably be ground down into the mulch that town people can use. And last year, that was all gone, so we reused all of that. This is another great program. They've collected 1.16 tons of recycled aluminum by the fire department of Sterling, and most importantly, Jeff Wanamaker, who spearheads that. So what basically that boiled down to is $1,100 donation to the St. Barnabas Burn Center. And I noticed yesterday when I was down there to drop off some recycling that the trailer is looking low, so please bring your aluminum down and let's do better than that this year. So great job. 230 gallons of used cooking oil, 125 yards of grass clippings. The electronics recyclable, and it's great people are embracing that, not leaving it out on the curb. computers, televisions, printers, that kind of stuff, 28.38 tons. Non-covered electronics, that's a separate category, that's for DVD players, VCRs, etc. That's 3.02 tons. Fluorescent bulbs, 1.07 tons. Car batteries, 93 car batteries that people put in there instead of going to landfill. And they also have a huge dumpster down there for recycling that the county will come pick up for people that miss recycling, have big stuff. They did 14 30-yard containers, and that's 27.55 tons of just regular recycling in addition to what the town does. So, great job, guys, in the DPW, and more importantly, great job to the public for embracing the program and really going with it. So thank you, everybody. Ms. Moole.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, if I could just say,
Absolutely.
very often when you recycle, your efforts go unnoticed. But I'd just like to bring everybody's attention to the more tangible good of the recycling. Guy and I can like to go and pick up awards for the town on it.
Regardless of whose suggestion or idea it was, when it implements it.
Yeah, exactly. So it has tangible benefits.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any ideas of things to recycle or other programs, please let us know. You can contact myself, anybody on the committee, or Mr. Gallo. Like I said, I think the public really embraced it in our town. So if you have an idea, please bring it to us. And Al's always looking at new things, so he's got some other things cooking up that we're going to try to get going. Nancy, Administrator's Report.
Thank you. Committeeman Verleza mentioned the closing of Nuverna Road. He didn't say why, though, because it's very exciting. A movie is being filmed there, and it's a mystery, and more importantly, it's starring Anne Hathaway. She's one of my favorite actresses, right from New Jersey, so I thought that was kind of a cool thing. You should also know that Long Hill it's on the radar of a lot of location scouts. This is the third time within the last year that movies or TV series have been considered, or that Long Hill's been considered as a location. The most recent one is just the other day. We were contacted by somebody who is starting a TV series starring Emma Corrin. So for fans of The Crown, you recognize her. And they're looking for sites in Long Hill. So they're going to be scouting around the town in the next couple weeks. So if you get a letter from them, then they're going to consider your house. So it's kind of a cool thing. Long Hill's an interesting community, and it's coming.
Are they looking for actors, perhaps the deputy mayor?
I'll mention it next time they call.
They have time limits on the length of the shows.
So we received some good news. We received a local recreational improvement grant from the DCA in the amount of $50,000. We will use that to improve our amenities in Cantor Park, including possibly towards the ExoFit physical fitness gym, towards lighting, whether it be towards new things, new amenities in Cantor Park, or to be used towards the monetary purchases of things we already planned. It's $50,000 that we don't have to pay for. Taxpayers don't have to pay for. So special thanks to Lisa Scanlon and to our engineer Paul Ferraro and his staff for their work on the grant. The Cross Hill Road project is almost complete, I'm very happy to say. All of the drainage piping and structures are in, and they're moving forward with the curb work over the next couple of weeks. All of the trenches have been backfilled and paved over, and the road is stable, and in the spring, the final paving will be done. The portion of Cross Hill Road that was of Oaks Road that was impacted will just be resurfaced, but the portion of, or the top half of Cross Hill Road will be completely reconstructed. So it's like a brand new road, and any water issues that those residents have this winter will be taken care of by the drainage. So the only thing left to do in the spring is the paving. And finally, on behalf of the employees, many of whom worked with Fred Rossi very closely over the years, I would like to express our sympathies to his family, and he'll be missed by all of us.
Thank you,
Thank
Nancy. Discussion items. I have one I'm going to add on, then we'll get into them. One, this has come up, I hear it from residents a lot, especially in the Myersville area, builders, the same, is the question was, what's the status of New Jersey American Water's upgrades to the system? I know Al hears a lot of questions like that too, and I know Jack has had some contact with them, because the questions we get are, hey, is my neighbor gonna get a sewer? Or a builder might be like, well, when can we start construction? We need sewer capacity. So Jack, if you just want to address that briefly, and we explain what the solution was that we might be moving towards.
Yes, Mayor, we've met with them several times, seeking to get a timetable, but they're not willing to commit to a timetable beyond their contractual obligations. However, our next step is going to be to contact them to see if they'll give us updates on their progress and their plans. And then we'll share them with the various developers who are interested, as well as any residents who may be interested.
Thank you. That's been a question. Now, obviously, not monthly updates, we can say, hey, in the next 6 months, we're gonna do this. I believe they have 5 years to do all the improvements they agreed on, and what are we on, starting year 2 right now?
We're in the year 2 now.
We're in year 2, so they basically have another 3.5 years or so to soar whatever the rest of the town is, plus increase the capacity. And I don't know, like I said, it's their business decision how they go about doing things, but we don't know the answers, and as Jack said, who's had direct contact with them, and I know Guy has too, it's just tough getting answers out of them. So at least if we can get periodic updates from them on a scheduled basis, at least we can give answers to all of you, and we can get answers ourselves, because we're curious as well.
And just as a reminder, Mr. Mayor, the township currently is 88% sewered. The contract and the obligation requires them to get to 95% within that 5-year.
That's correct.
From the close, which was October of
2019.
2019. So there will be 7% of the town that will in fact be sewered, but we don't know where. That's to be determined by NJ
It
American.
was 2020, actually.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's a frequent question we get, is my neighborhood gonna get it? Honestly, we can't answer the question because we don't know, and if NJ, the Jersey American knows, they haven't told any of us. Anybody have anything on that?
I'm sorry, we also have no idea when they're gonna increase capacity either, right?
Correct.
Nothing.
But they've got to do that within the 5-year period, and as the mayor said, you know, they've got another 3 years and 9 months or whatever.
So,
So,
as long as it's done in that 5 years, they can do it in the last 5 minutes, but
got it.
so we really don't have an answer. The next is HR consultant. I'm gonna throw this over to Scott to lead the conversation on that, because he has a background in that, and he's been helping out running this project.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background on, what's generating this topic. When we take a look at some of the complexities with managing the town's business in light of the pandemic and, all the resulting complications that come from that, things like labor shortages, employees not being able to come to work, lockdowns, remote work. It's becoming clearer that, both here in Town Hall, DPW, police, wherever, more and more time is being spent working on personnel situations. And not like bad situations, but, all these things, like putting up plexiglass in the town and people working from home and this, that, and the other. And, we thought we could do a better job of getting some professional HR help to help us sort some of these things out. And, Nancy and I worked initially, for instance, on modernizing employee reviews so that there's a better understanding of, how folks are doing and making sure folks have input as to what their own self-evaluation is of the things that they're doing. Guy's done a little bit of research. He's talked to some other towns. It's not a new idea. And so, we want to kind of copy that model. And I think where we want to go is, probably put a bid out to get a consultant in to help us improve our processes, take some of the load off of, our management, so that they spend more time on citizen services as opposed to all the internal machinations that, everyone agrees, there's just so much more internal work in terms of managing the personnel here. But Guy, I think you did a little bit of research talking to some of the other towns. Could you kind of weigh in on that?
Had to look, guys.
Yeah. How could you see the look on my face?
It is, it's deer in headlights.
Well, I mean, Scott
Scott, I think you did the lion's share, but to your point, yes, we have spoken to other towns, I won't mention them publicly. But we found out that in fact, it's not a new idea. Much like our idea that maybe we could do a shared service for our human services role. And then we found out those towns, Florham Park and 3 other towns, are in fact doing a shared service for that role. So we're not reinventing the wheel. It confirmed what we thought. It is a good idea to take some of the lift from that from Administrator Lahul, so she can spend time on dozens of other things she's working on. So
Just simple things like hiring. I mean, the labor shortage is so difficult to find people and to go through that process. You could spend all day working on that. And so if we get to the point where we can, create some streamlined processes, maybe, get some outside, computer system help or something like that to make this stuff easier, it'd be goodness.
And coming from, my wife's an employment attorney, plus she works in employee relations now for a large company, and just the nuances of the job now. You have wage and hour guidelines. You have family medical leave, workers' comp, when can people return to work, when they can. This is not even considering COVID. Just so much to it. I don't expect our payroll people to be an expert on it. I just would expect our administrator to be an expert on it. It's not our forte. So, and it's no knock on Nancy or anybody that works here. It's just a very specialized field now where they have majors in college for it. So there's a lot going on, and if we have somebody that's all they do all day, it's so much easier. And like Scott said, it'll give the people at Town Hall more time to serve the public when we have a dedicated person serving the town employees. So basically, their client would be the Town Hall employees, where our employees' clients would be the public in general, and I think it'd be a good service for everybody. So the next question is, do we put out an RFP or put out like almost like an ad?
We're kind of in the research phase right now, so
Okay.
we have to understand what we want to ask for. And, we're still talking to people. So, this is a process that's going to go on through the year. I think we kind of need to set a flag in the ground and say, when do we want to have, something to go out to bid? But, we should probably talk about this every month we get together until we get to critical mass on it.
All right, I know Guy obviously talks to people all the time in government, so clearly you talk to your friends and colleagues, and I'll do the same to people I know and get some ideas they have or problems they have, because there are probably a lot of the same common issues between all of us as small towns of similar size.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on that topic? All right, Chief, your turn. Just to paraphrase this, about 2 or 3 years ago, I know there was an incident in town, and one of the issues we had, not just from our department, from the other mutual aid departments that graciously came in to help our people, was there was a communications issue. And I don't mean communication between the officers, I mean they couldn't get each other on the radio. And I believe, and the chief could correct me if I'm wrong, that the county, we had a preliminary discussion, the county said, don't worry, we're getting new radios, physically new radios. And the new radios came in, and unbeknownst to us until recently, is that the radios might be great, but when you can't connect to the communications, there's a problem. So you could have the latest iPhone, but if you're in the middle of the swamp, you can't get reception. And I know it's not just the police, and the chief will come up and explain more, but it also applies to all our first responders. We had Rob Hovanek from the emergency squad here just a little while ago. He had to left because I saw the ambulance leave, but they have a problem. I spoke to both fire departments. They both have problems, and clearly the police, they're on the scene first for basically every single thing, and that's a major problem too. So Chief, if you want to come up and just explain to the public what's going on, what you're seeing over the last couple of years, I think it's important that everybody know the difficulties we're having. And just one last thing, Chief, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the county dispatch has us on different channels. So we share a channel with the Chathams and Harding.
Correct.
Okay, and so it's not just a Long Hill problem here we're talking about.
It's not. Thank you, Mayor. And I
Go ahead.
appreciate you taking the lead on this. I know I sent an email not too long ago, and I know you followed up on it expeditiously, so I appreciate you taking that time. The communication problem has been ongoing for numerous years. And we would always hold on for the next and greatest thing that the county had to offer. And as these changes have taken place, they haven't rectified the problem specifically in Long Hill. My understanding, and I want to speak on behalf of Morris County Communications Center, but the way they've explained it to us is that as long as the county can have 95% coverage, outside of a vehicle, outside of a building, they meet the criteria for whatever guidelines. So Long Hill could be at 30% coverage, and as long as every other county is at 90, 100%, we're lumped into that 95% coverage. And I know the decision to go to county predates probably, some of the community members that are up there now, but ultimately we lost that personal touch to having local dispatchers that knew, Ms. Johnson from around the block, So that was an aspect. The other aspect was county decisions were made that individual towns really had no input in, meaning that when we communicated with the fire department, they can hear us, we can hear them. The squad knew that, okay, CPR was in progress, bring, a stair chair in. Now the way it works is we can't communicate directly with them. The call goes to a call taker, then to a dispatcher, and there's downtime. So some of the other issues besides the radio communication issues is the access or the efficiency or the downtime before we can get some work done. So I know at least one of the Chathams and Harding has encountered similar. We've had it probably the worst just because of the layout really, and no dig against the county, but the layout of Long Hill is a little bit difficult as far as where the towers are. So where we stand today is there's a tower at Wagner Farm that is in discussion with Warren, but there were some difficulties there as far as real estate on that tower and how much the county could utilize to put their equipment. So that's been in the works. So the new radio system is there, but without that piece, that component on the Wagner Farm tower, which is dependent on another municipality in another county, we don't know if we're going to get the proper coverage. If you hear the radio, what you're going to get is, I'm keying up, and this is what you get when you try to call.
So if you're calling, so you're on an emergency call, and you try to radio for help, that's what's gonna come up.
So if you jumped over the counter right now and started physically assaulting me, this is what I'm getting when I'm trying to call for help. A tone that's telling me the radio's not working.
And that's not an emergency call, that's just dead air.
That's just no comms. So this happens quite frequently throughout town. What we've been having the officers do is document every time they have a miscommunication or comms error. And we're tracking it so we could have a good report of where the issues are. Now, when we had that incident, I think you referenced where we had a couple of knuckleheads breaking into cars, and while the officers were in foot pursuit, the county made their way out with basically FirstNet cell phones to try to train the guys and give it to them as they're in the middle of pursuing these suspects. So it wasn't a feasible solution. So. I've offered suggestions. There's a couple companies out, and I don't want to give them any kind of some free advertisement, but there's a couple companies out there that can supplement county communications. And I remember when the administrator first came on, that was one of the issues that I raised to her, and she brought in a company to look at a private dispatch. And I think just the cost, maybe, if I remember correctly, there was some issues with that to just strictly go with a private dispatch facility. Could not fit within our budget or our needs. So I bring it to your attention because I think this is something maybe the committee members and possibly the freeholders could have a discussion regarding what could be done for Long Hill Township. Ultimately, the contract I think is signed to say that this is kind of what you get. With no improvement on the county, the town may be responsible for additional towers or whatever it may need to be, but. I appreciate that you guys are supporting this and looking into it because we can't afford to have an incident, where the radios don't work. And I think just the ability to communicate with our local volunteers effectively, it means a lot to both sides. And it could mean a life or death situation. So appreciate you looking into it. Appreciate you bringing it up, and appreciate the time the administrator had put in initially onto this project when she first got here.
Now, I don't know who told me, but you were meeting, I don't know if you met with Chief Miller, Chief Heller, and Chief Gibson in the Chathams and Harding, because I know at least Chatham Township was keeping track of the dead spots and the prayer areas they have problems with.
Chief Gibbons is good. He's all right. he has no issues. He's
Okay.
got some magical pull over there. But so the other Chatham and Harding are experiencing a similar situation.
And that's obviously outside, I mean, swamp's the swamp, but outside the swamp, I know like Chatham
Same.
Township's problem on River Road, which means you guys are gonna have a problem on River Road too, or when it turns to Long Hill Road.
Right. There is some buildings of concern that we do need radio communications inside them, and we don't have them.
Okay.
And there's no other way other than they've been utilizing their personal cell phones, which will create a problem with discovery and all kinds of.
Well, yeah, then you have two
Right.
different hands you need to use, so
Yeah.
you can't administer CPR when you're on the cell phone.
Right. So and that's not right. But
All right, so, but you've been talking to at least Chief Heller and Chief Miller?
yep.
Okay, so they're at least compiling,
They are, and
Okay.
specifically, actually, and I give credit to Chief Heller for starting this process with having an actual code for radio miscommunication issues or that we've been tracking. So he started that process, and we picked up on it as well. So
all right. I spoke to the, coincidentally, Chatham Township mayor last week, and then I sent her a message follow-up this week, and they were aware of it, because I think Officer Laporta, or Sergeant Laporta told them, and Lieutenant Hayworth's on top of it, and they're 100% on board for backing this. It's just a matter of us getting together with, at least the Chatham Borough's not an issue now, the other two towns, whether it be the administrators and the mayors getting together and us. I don't know if we send a joint letter to the county, we just gotta figure out how to do it, but clearly this is not a Long Hill problem. It's a bigger problem than
it's
that.
not, and one of the things that we are unique to in Long Hill Township is that we're surrounded by other counties as well, and we've pretty much lost all communication with those towns.
Well, let me ask you, you mentioned Wagner, that's in Warren. Does Warren have an issue with their comms, or just we can put it on their tower and bounce a signal back here?
We can put it on their tower. So Warren, I guess, had an agreement with Wagner Farms, but it's specific to Warren now that Morris County is trying to get in onto that process. And the cell phone companies own real estate on that tower, and they're not just willing to give it up.
No, it's
They
expensive real
want
estate.
money.
Okay.
So I think it's just a matter of finances that have to get worked out. But
All right, so even put it on Wagner, that's basically just for us, not for Warren PD or Watchung or?
nope, that's
Okay.
only to benefit basically the Morris County South area, this area that we're discussing.
All right, so you're keeping track, like somebody in your department, you or
Yep.
somebody else is keeping track of the major issues or problems or problem
Sir.
areas?
Yes, sir.
All right, so eventually, I guess once we decide what we're gonna do, you could at least, or your department or somebody, at least put together a list of the problems you have, and/or like you said, I can't communicate directly with the fire department, I can't communicate directly with
Right.
Rob Hovanek, who's trying to do CPR.
We've been actually documenting specific addresses, so it's as specific as it can be. It's in front of 1153 Valley Road.
Okay,
Portable is at the car radio. So I can run a report for you and say, here's 300 calls, the radio malfunction.
All
And
right.
here's a location, so.
good, so we, go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say, is the basis of the problem transmission and reception, getting a signal only?
It's mainly on portable for reception, but also, as you just saw right now, for transmission. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's no real,
It has to
logic.
do with the terrain here with the hills and stuff, and
Definitely.
not being able to get the signal down.
Correct.
Okay. And so, for instance, a brute force solution would be, we put up our own tower, but that's too
We
expensive.
could, but the technology is beyond that, so you won't have to put, $1 million tower. There is technology out there where they use, cell phone towers that are already in existence. They use a radio, and they feed that signal to
Like
to
a
the cell phone.
repeater, yeah.
Right, and they've designed the phones where they're push-to-talk, where they can connect a TAC mic to a smartphone, and then you could utilize Verizon, AT&T, all the different
Okay.
cellulars.
But the problem is getting the signal. It's not necessarily a logic problem in
Right,
it.
right.
Okay.
It can be done, it's just, if people want to work towards it, I think there is some solutions out there.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Chief, thank you very much. And if I could speak to your point, just to add a little historical context, when we first met with the county, and I think it goes back to 2011, I'm not exactly right, but it's been either nearly 10 years or more than 10 years.
Right.
When we met with them and unanimously as a committee, I guess Chief Hedden at the time, the respective chiefs
Right.
from both fire companies, Captain English at the time, and I know I was in the room, we went into that because there was significant savings, which we all agreed was good, but the agreement with the county wasn't this 95% with possibly Long Hill being 30%. The agreement with the county was they knew the challenges, they knew the terrain, and that they would work it out in short order, a year or two. honestly, I didn't know it had continued and perhaps even gotten worse based on what you just told me. And you didn't mention, although we're inside a building now, but let's transfer inside the building to the schools. If you're in the schools and you have an active shooter, it will never happen in Long Hill unless it does. If you've got a fire, never happen in Long Hill unless it happens. It's been 10 years now, and disappointed isn't the word I want to use. This is not acceptable. And if we have a solution that we can work out, especially as a shared service with some of the towns that are near us, I would recommend to this committee that we move in that direction.
And we
10
did-
years, 10 years, and they assured us it would be taken care of within a year or two. We went a year or two or 3 or 4, but now it's been 10 plus. That's not acceptable.
And we didn't, and just so we're clear, we did not bypass any attempts to work this with county communications, right? We've met, myself, Captain English, Shane Daly, and several other members. We went up to the county and had a full-on conference with all the people up at the county and said, what can we do, right? And the promise was this new radio system would resolve it, and we were patient, we waited, and here we are, similar problems, if not worse. We've done everything we can as far as communicating with people up at the county. I think now I turn it over to you, gentlemen.
And let's even accept they have done everything they can. I'll even go there.
Right.
But it hasn't worked, right? I mean, we have to conclude it hasn't worked.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
oh, yeah. No, I mean, what I would say here, you know, as the chief said this, and as Guy has confirmed even from 10 years ago, this has been a problem. And whenever 7 years ago we had a particular issue that, for security reasons, I can't actually mention that. That's how critical it was. And we met with former police chief Mike Peoples here, and basically we were given a runaround. It was basically what the chief said: we're meeting our contractual responsibilities here. If you want to spend the money, go ahead, spend the money, be our guest. And so, given where we are, and the county just seems to be not be able to meet our needs, one of the things I'd like to suggest is that we actually tonight decide to move forward and actually look at some of the alternatives that we might want to put in place, with the idea that we go to the county and we say, here's what we're going to do. Unless you enact quickly, we will withdraw from the county communications. Because if we don't do that and we go to the county, just as we've done throughout the years, we're going to get the runaround, and the runaround turns into months, years, and before you know it, it's another 10 years, and we're still we're still in a situation where officer safety, yeah, sure, is absolutely impaired here, but resident safety as well. So I would like us to somehow start evaluating the opportunities that we might have here.
Who did Bernard's go to when they broke up that system? Because we used to be with them before the county, correct?
We were with them, and it functioned phenomenally.
So the actual signal was good then?
Everything was perfect.
Okay.
The unfortunate part is we jumped ship on Bernard's, and
Who
they
were
stripped
they
down
with?
the infrastructure. Now they're with the county, with their own county.
There was Somerset County. And then is Warren and Watchung with them as well, as far as you know?
I believe everybody kind of went, pretty much went to the county. There are numerous towns in Morris County that decided they weren't gonna, they were gonna stay with their own dispatch, and they seem to be.
All right, and the next question, and maybe Nancy might be able to answer this too. I remember at some point in time that I think Berkeley Heights asked us to join with them. Is Berkeley Heights now with New Providence Summit? Do you have any idea?
No.
I mean, we're right here, so
I thought they went to county as well.
They went to Union County.
they went to Union County. So, but I don't know. I mean, as far as you know from talking to your friends and the colleagues in the down East End,
Right.
do they have issues like we do? I didn't think so either, but
No.
I'd
So-
ask.
Well, to point, I think it's a wonderful idea to do a shared service with the 39 other towns in Morris County, and I don't know, I think 25, 20, I don't know how many are in the shared service. The larger ones like Parsippany and Morristown, I think, maintain their own. However, we entered into that a shared service is only useful if it works. If it
Correct.
doesn't work, nobody's fault. It doesn't work. We have to figure out a solution.
I think the mayor last year said we can just put it off till the mayor this year would handle it for him. I think that's what happened.
And blame him.
If I recall correctly, but I think, yeah.
But I mean, is it, just from your experience, let's say, for example, Somerset County, would they even let us go on that ban, being that we're right basically in Somerset County half the time anyway, but is that something that's even possible? You don't know.
I know Warren County does it, and they do outside their county, but, so I guess anything is possible if, you know, if we make the pitch.
I just didn't know if they would say, oh, no, you're not from the county, you can't do it, because I'm guessing the signal's coming from this way, and it doesn't have to go up over the hill and down.
Right.
It might be better.
Well, have we- to
Legally,
that end,
is there an issue doing a shared service for dispatch with another county?
Not legally, no.
Jumping in.
I mean, one other thing, I mean, the technology right now that's been used through the county it's kind of old technology, right? Whenever you look at the advances that have been made, and you know, perhaps we don't even need to look to do that. We can use our own or we can use services that are over the cellular networks, as you were alluding to, and maybe that's something we should look to look into.
I just received an email this afternoon from one of the companies I've been talking to, and they're willing to basically provide the equipment, you know, at a trial basis to see. The unfortunate part is because we're still with county, they have to tie into county radios, and I don't think that's really going to be allowed to happen, especially if the idea is to potentially go with so there is some challenges, but I think if we get the right company in here, or maybe put it out to some kind of either bid or study and see
that's where I was going, and that's the disconnect I have is, you know, we need to look at this, maybe a communications engineer or something like that, because you don't want to just jump into another system and then you have the exact same problems because you haven't changed anything. Right.
The costs that have been shared with these cellular companies that are able to transmit over the phones has been very, very minimal compared to what we're paying right now for the county. But now there's some other issues as far as who, you know, I believe the county is required to accept 911 calls, so that's always a big concern. Are we going to miss out on, you know, any 911 calls? But so there is going to be some legwork. But again, I would recommend that we get somebody that's you know, qualified in communications, because you know, I'm limited. I think we're all limited to.
And specifically to tell us what the problem is with the county system.
They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you the layout of the land in Long Hill is what we've been told.
You think that's all it is, though? I mean, why was Bernard's working when we were with them?
Exactly.
Because they're probably broadcast the same level as we are. Because the county, at least from the Chatham guys told me, is that as it comes over the ridge there, when they're on River Road, it doesn't go down.
Right.
So if they had said they could send the signal this way, bounce it off something like over here by the river, and then bounces back to River Road, it would work. It just doesn't go down into the valley. At least that's what I was from Chatham Township's perspective.
Right. I'd be interested at minimum to see what the coverage area is in Long Hill, just Long Hill, and not getting lumped in with the entire county. Right.
Yeah.
If you can demonstrate that we have that coverage, and which I don't see how we could, but that would be an interesting thing, you know, stat to look at. So,
You know, my only concern is that we know it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work, interesting. We should maybe chase that down, and that might be help us whenever it comes to shaping a solution. But you know, we've just in my time on this committee, we've kind of gone into we've done things like this, and we end up going down a rabbit hole of this study and that study and the next study. But all I'm saying is that it would be good to, I want to get, you know, the experts around the table, but while we're doing, looking into why we have the situation, great, also start evaluating a number of different solutions.
The good news, I want to circle back to something the chief emphasized earlier, and which we are all familiar with. We have Fire Chief Gallo, we have you, President of Millington, and to your point as well, Scott, we know something can work, because it did.
right.
It's not, the layout of Long Hill, while challenging, we know there's something that can work.
Right.
It's not like we went to the county because what we had previously wasn't working. So there's a solution. And to Brendan's point, let's find it.
Well, and if you bring in an outside firm to talk to us about some of these newer technologies, you can get those kind of studies for free. Right? Tell me that the frequency is right. Tell me that the amplitude is similar. Tell me that it's where the poles are lined up. Whatever it is, you know, why did it used to work? Why doesn't it work now? And that'll kind of inform the path
And if
forward.
their answer is just join the towns that surround you,
but happen to be to the south,
But it wouldn't be terrible to join another town, and you have exactly the same problem, right? You need to know what the problem is so that you solution around something that works.
Right. I mean, and there's a lot, look, there's a lot of benefits, and I'm sure Al and
I think
Committeeman.
they can fix that microphone too.
Committeeman Ray will tell you, and Chief Gallo will tell you, you know, a lot of times you don't need all the apparatus on the road, and sometimes we'll get there, obviously, we're on the road, we'll get there, and we'll say, look, it's nothing, yeah, it's a crash, but, you know, you're not rolling out millions of dollars worth of apparatus if it's not needed, but there's that downtime because we're going to a call taker back to dispatch, and there's a different desk for fire, so there's other issues, even if the radio is working, that ability to be able to communicate with these gentlemen and the first aid squad instantly and have them hear us is a huge benefit too, you know?
Is there anywhere in the county, for example, say I'm up in Parsippany, and I'm on the radio, can I talk directly to EMS or fire?
They will not allow that.
Okay, it doesn't, all right.
And even, actually, to kind of to that point, you know, we're at the mercy of county and their rules and regulations, and very often they don't make too much sense. Whenever the new radio system was being rolled out, we asked the chief if he would allow us to at least listen in to police communications, which meant a simple program whenever they were reprogramming our radios, and county refused to do it. So we can't even, it would be a huge help for us to be able to listen to police communications, because on a fire call, you're getting real-time information back, and we can't do it because of county.
So it's more than the transmission, it's also the service, it's also the services that are provided.
Joint
Yeah.
communication, I guess, communication.
The integration, if you will.
Yeah, the EMS people. So, yeah, if you want to, I mean, you guys have the list. I guess you put together, like, on the grievance list, we say, look, one problem is we can't communicate amongst EMS, fire. Or the other thing is, hey, these are the dead spots, even that. So at least then we can get it together. I guess ask Chief Miller and Chief Heller, because I know they're doing it anyway. Then we could all just, probably better if we all go in force and say, hey, commissioners, we got a big problem down in the south here. Don't forget about us.
Right. And that was a position they've taken with this past email that went out. They want to have that one last sit down with the county and say, here's where we're at. We're at our limit, really, with this. And
I agree with them.
you know,
All right.
so if they take action and they rectify it, so be it. We stay. But if, you know, I think like
And I just
Committeeman
wanna
Ray said.
Emphasize once again, to be clear, the agreement when we entered into it was that they would resolve the issue in
Right.
Landfill. It wasn't holistically the county. I mean, we love all of our Morris County towns, but our responsibility is to the residents of Longhill Township. They were supposed to resolve it. They have not.
And one other thing I'd like to start tonight, or at least to kind of start the ball rolling, is at least identify experts. If we're going to do some kind of a study, at least we start identifying experts now, so that we don't come up with, oh yeah, there's definitely a problem.
We don't know what it is.
Because we know there is one, so we could start doing that. We could start doing that from tomorrow on.
Is this something that you want to see either through a presentation of some sort at a township committee meeting or an exec, or you just want to keep it outside, you know?
No, if we can get the information, that'd be great. I mean, everybody should know what's going on.
Right. So I'd be more than happy to try to set something up and have them come and present what they can offer for our circumstances, and you know, everybody could listen in on what they're doing.
Would they be willing at least to come in, as Scott said, and say, look, this is what the problem is, as we know because we're experts in the field, and this is what you can do to fix it? That's the other question. I don't know. I think that's Scott's question.
I mean, it could be as simple as just meeting with the police subcommittee, or and have them kind of relay back to you gentlemen what we're working with, so.
Yeah, but even if because I know if you go to any kind of conference, convention, you go, there's a whole
Correct.
big of people trying to sell their goods.
Yep.
So, but if you know or have contact with them and say, hey, look, they're willing to come to town and do some kind of, like Scott said, a quick survey to figure out, all right, this is the problems you have, this is why they're happening, and this is how you fix them. If we can get one or two people like that in the field to come in and tell us, I have no problem coming to public and doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be good. If the
I'll
people are
start.
willing to come in and offer their assistance and tell us what the problem is and how to fix it,
It's part of how they sell it, is
yeah.
telling
that's
us
it,
what's
how they
wrong.
solve that's a good idea.
I'll start working on it, and then I'll report back to you.
Thank you, no, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for looking into it.
Thank you.
No, and yeah, I guess, you can even tell the chiefs in Chatham and Harding too, if that's an issue, but we get all together, and, because they have similar issues, but I'm more concerned here, but it's a common issue, especially if you guys go across there to help them out.
Right. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, any other discussion items? Seeing none? Now we have old new business. This is, well, actually, one issue, Vic, you have to refrain from. For some reason, we forgot to reappoint Vic to the planning board, which has been on for numerous years. That slipped through the cracks, so Vic, we're sorry, so we'll deal with that in a second. And the other one was, we still have the alternate number 2 spot for the zoning board. And so basically, we need 2 motions. First is to appoint Jessica Brennan, who lives up in Sterling, as a alternate number 2 for a 2-year term to the zoning board. Can I have a second, or a motion to approve Ms. Brennan?
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Ray,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia,
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey.
Yes. All right, now, Vic, obviously you have to abstain on this one. This is our standing, we forgot to put Vic's name down as the police liaison, even though he's been the police liaison for a year now. We have 2, as you know, Scott and Vic double team it, and then they have good communication, so for some reason just left off the list. So this is just a motion to reappoint Vic, even though he's still acting in that capacity.
So moved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Ray,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza will be abstaining, Deputy Mayor Paserchia,
Yes.
Mayor Dorsey.
Yes. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I could just circle back to old business.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is something that we've talked about in public before, and it's getting worse on social media. Please, for the love of God, stop putting personal information on social media. You know, what doctor to use, what ailment you have, what ages your children are. And do not respond to those generic things. What is your favorite baseball team? Where were you in, 1999? There are algorithms out there that search this stuff. They figure out what your passwords are. It's not altruistic. Nobody really cares what your favorite baseball team is. Stop putting personal information on social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Any announcements? You covered the rec stuff, correct? Nancy, you have any announcements? No. Anyone? Fire department's up to anything? Fundraisers? Oh, the venison dinner is back. They finally got out there and got some, they got some deer. When is it gonna be this year? March 26th. Tentatively scheduled March 26th, so mark your calendars. We'll make more announcements as we get closer. It's an excellent fundraiser. It's a lot of fun, and it's all locally sourced food, and all the chefs are also local too, and they do a great job. So we'll get more into that later.
And if maybe one more, after you've eaten your venison dinner, you've had your dessert, you want some coffee. Of course, we
yes.
have Long Hill
Go ahead.
Fire Coffee available on the websites for both Stirling and Millington, and in many fine establishments around the town, in a steadily increasing number of them. So
Do you know, can you list some of the places that do sell them in town? So you don't go on the website that you know of?
Yeah, we have Jaeger Lumber in Stirling. We have the Millington Cafe in Millington, the Hallmark store
I didn't know that.
right here in the library. Any others, Al? Jay's and Biagio's. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
And all the proceeds go towards the local fire departments. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I've given it to other people, and they said it's actually very good coffee.
Yeah.
And I think Brendan's a coffee snob, and he actually likes it too, correct?
That's right.
I would qualify that Brendan's a snob. I mean, just for what he did.
All right, we'll open the meeting now to the public. Unless Al or the chief have anything to say, Megan, you can go to the website, see if anybody has their hand raised.
There is a Pam Oggins that has their hand raised. I'm going to allow them to speak.
Sure. Ms. Hodgins, just letting us know when you're on.
I think I'm on.
You're good.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hi, it's Pam Ogens, 36 The Crescent in Millington. I missed the first half hour of the meeting. Was there an update on the police department headquarters remediation project? Where are we with that?
There's not, Chief, if you want to give her an update, you live there, so I don't know if there's anything to update.
Other than it's planned to be completed by March 1st.
There you go.
At the latest, yep.
So I missed, did you hear, Victor?
Yes, I just
Okay.
heard that.
Do you have any other questions, Ms. Adjourn, or comments?
No, I just said the coffee is excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome.
Megan, anybody else?
If anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand now. I'm not seeing anyone else now.
All right, with that, I want a motion to adjourn to exec session. Do I have an announcement?
I think we got maybe written questions?
Oh, not.
No?
If people want to come, they can call in or come and do it. So,
Those rules only apply during totally virtual meetings.
Okay, can you explain that for the public?
oh, go ahead, that's a legal issue.
Yes, in the past, you had to be here in order to make comments at the public meeting. During COVID, the state adopted some regulations that allowed us to have Zoom meetings, totally 100% virtual meetings. And one of the rules was that if anyone submitted written comments, they had to be read in full. But since we're having live meetings again, those regulations are no longer germane. Now, people are certainly free to write to the Township Committee, and the Township Committee can certainly take into account what, residents are writing. But there's no more obligation to read comments, written comments into the record, since we're back live.
Thank you for the clarification.
Anytime. Any other business or questions? All right, I've asked for a motion to adjourn to exec session with no further action.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Good night,
Stay safe.
everyone.
Red button, Megan?
Yes.